Hey guys, I'm Carly from Point Blank Music School. Last week we caught up with one of the most prolific UK garage producers, MJ Cole. He showed us around his studio, took us through his setup and showed us how he produced his latest remix of Human by Rag and Bone Man.
I'm MJ Cole and you're on Point Blank TV. Don't use that one. Welcome to Two Step Towers. Welcome to my studio. I'm MJ Cole. This is where I spend the majority of my time and I love it in here, and it's kind of something that I built up over the last year and a half that I've been making music for. So just starting around the back of the room really, my trusty Fender Rhodes, the Suitcase 88. So it sits on top of an amp and it's an 88. It's a Mark II. It's actually got a slightly softer sound than a Mark I. And actually this Rhodes was Portishead's Rhodes, I believe, that they made the first album on. And I bought it from a photographer mate of mine called Carl, who's mates with them. So this was the actual Rhodes that was used on that album. On top of the Rhodes, I've just really got some new pedals for it that I'm kind of running stuff through. So I've got the Hog guitar pedal that's got this amazing freeze thing on it. So you can kind of play a chord, stick this pedal down, and it will kind of hold the chord and you can kind of move the harmonics around. I've been using that a lot recently. And there's a small stone pedal here as well that's kind of like a great sort of phaser, old 70s vibe. Next along we have my piano. This is a Yamaha U1. I love the sound of the Yamaha. I think it's got a very kind of bright sound, quite a poppy sound, beautiful sounding piano. And I have these Josephson mics. I think they're called C42s, I'm not sure. I actually record those through two Neve preamps that are part of my lunchbox thing that I'll get to in a minute. I'm a keys man and it's kind of great for me to have my friends, the Rhodes and the piano in here. So moving around, I have a kind of more recording area in my studio. So I have my Flea mic here. So basically I have a rack which is my recording rack. So at the bottom I've got a Tube Tech mic pre, which is great, some Neve EQs, API 550As, and then I've got a little lunchbox thing going on. So I've got these two Neve mic pre's which I use for lots of different things, but they're permanently wired to the piano. I got a Focusrite Red which I use. I've got a Shure SM7 that's on top of the piano, and I've got just a selection of compressors in there that I use. But all this stuff in this rack is what I use to get into my system. So I have mics kind of set up and they'll run through that. So my mics are basically those Josephson ones. I've got a Flea SE Gemini that I don't use so much anymore. A Roya SF24, which is a stereo ribbon mic, which I kind of sometimes have set up in here. I've done strings in here and things and pianos. So I have that set up in here sometimes. So that's really my recording section. My monitors are my near fields, the ATC CM25A, I think they're called. I love them to bits. I wouldn't ever really change them now, I don't think. I'm kind of addicted to their sound. I have a massive sub-bass also at the back. And then I have the Gaithan monitors, made by a former East German company, kind of the equivalent of the BBC over there. And they're amazing because they've got these kind of concentric cones and the bass driver is behind, so you get very directional sound. So that's my monitoring setup. And then the big green knob here is my Plainsong Avocet, which I absolutely love as well. When you're kind of, using it all day long, it's great, and it's got some great features in that you can kind of compare different line-in sources and adjust the different volumes to them. That also feeds my Clark Technic Spectrum Analyzer BN60, which is old school, but I just love the old school red LEDs on it. Computer-wise, now just run from a MacBook Pro, and my whole studio runs off that. These two screens, and everything runs from that, and that's been really great. It took me some convincing to kind of switch to a laptop because I had towers before that, but it's running really well. I mean, if I really push it super hard, the processor will kind of fall over, but I'm talking about having, like 20 auto tunes and sound shifters and stuff like that. So if I do a bit of bouncing, it's fine, but that's great because I can take it home. I have another little setup at home that I can kind of plug stuff in and do bouncing or just vibes at home. So that's cool. My controller keyboard, I still use my Lynx Aurora 16, had that for years, but that still seems to be working out really well. I really like it. I've got a modified Dolby unit that's great for kind of adding air to vocals and acoustic guitars and things like that. And moving over to the right, I've got my trusty Moog Sub 37, which I absolutely love. It's just a great go-to synth for bass stuff, basically, and I'm constantly using it. And it's great doing passes through tunes, playing the modulation and the filter cut-off and stuff like that. And then below that is kind of some of my more prized gear that I've collected over the years. I've got a Phoenix compressor, a valve compressor, that's a stereo thing that I use on the mix bus quite often. It's great for warming stuff up. You can kind of run stuff through without any gain reduction and you can still hear it kind of just running through the valves, so that's great. I've got basically a Pultec EQP 1A clone or remake, which is great on kicks and bass, as everyone kind of knows. And then my trusty Neve 33609C stereo compressor. Probably bought that in 1998 or something. It's like one of my first big purchases. But that will be on most of my records from like 98 until almost now. I don't use it all the time now, but I used to use it all the time then. And on the bottom I've got a SSL stereo compressor, same that you find in the G Plus console, which is great. And a distressor at the top, mono compressor, that's just great for kind of thwacking snares, and it's very versatile. And then synth-wise, kind of in my synth rack, micro Korg that's got some cute little basses on it. I've had that a very long time. I've just updated my Pioneer level here, so I can actually kind of work out what's going on when I go to a club. Because for years I didn't have any CDJs or any mixer, and so I didn't really know what was going on when I got to a club. Roland V-Synth that I've had for years and years and years. That's really cool. It's got this kind of wavy, stick your hand over the top thing that kind of affects different parameters. It's great. Prophet 12's sort of relatively new. I've had that for a year or two. A really complicated bit of kit, but it is amazing. And then I've got a Korg MS2000 that I've had for years and years that I've used on a lot of different things. And then basically the way I run my studio is I have a summing mixer at the bottom, a Spec X Sum at the bottom, and all these synths and all my DJ stuff all goes into that summing mixer, and I just have two pairs of stereo outs that go to my patch bay. I've got a Bantam patch bay with everything in. So it's kind of nice, you can have everything set up and walk into the room. You don't even have to have the computer on. You can just hit and log in to and just play anything. You can also route it into Logic or into the Aurora, which is great. I got an OP1 for Christmas and I got right into it over Christmas, and I love it. I just love the approach that those guys have got to, you know, approaching like effects and the way things are done. I love the virtual tape machine on there, the way you can kind of cut and splice and vary speed things, and the virtual kind of bit of vinyl at the end, the album thing that you can just kind of run stuff on. Pocket Tonic, which is a PO32, which is a drum machine, which is great, just for knocking up little beats and bouncing stuff to the computer. And I've also got the bass one. I run Logic. I used to be a Pro Tools guy, but I don't really use that anymore. I'm kind of mostly Logic, and I have a lot of plugins. I have all the, you know, complete stuff. I have lots of you know, I've got most things, like loads of waves, loads of UAD stuff, all the kind of, you know, interesting things. Probably too many to mention, but I've got all the usual stuff on there. But Logic is my go-to DAW. Hi. So today I'm going to go through my remix of Human for Rag and Bone Man. And kind of bore you with how I went about it and how I ended up finishing it. So my remix process starts with the parts, obviously. So I got sent some good parts for this. The vocals, there were some piano chops, some choir, lots of things like that. And so the first thing I do when I'm doing the remix is get the parts up as a multi-track in a Logic session. And I look at the kind of speed, basically. I think this worked, it's quite a slow track. I think it was about 75, 6, 7 BPM or something like that. And I'm looking to really get to like 130, so it's something that I can play in my sets, like 128 to 132, something like that. So if I'm looking at something that's 75 BPM, really I want to kind of, either I'm going to go from 75 up to 130, which is going to be very Mickey Mouse timing-wise, or I kind of go down. So I think in this case I went down to 65 BPM, so basically stretched it down. But an interesting thing about this track was that I actually found when I came to do the parts initially that the whole master wasn't completely in tune concert pitch wise. I'm going to play a piano note, you'll hear. The whole thing was like slightly out of tune, but that's a bit of a nightmare remixing because it means that any soft synths you pull up or anything is going to be slightly out of tune. So I won't show you exactly now the session that I did it in, but I will have basically changed the pitch very slightly as a matter of cents, probably 20 or 30 cents, and then changed the BPM as well. And I kind of do that in a separate session. And these days I'm a little bit lazier and I use Flex on Logic built in. But in the old days, I used to go into a Pro Tools session and use speed and time, which I still think is the best stretch. But I'm a bit lazier now, and the Flex seems to be cool. It's getting better the whole time. So basically, the first thing I will have done is gone into multi-track session, changed the BPM down to 65, and then exported those audio tracks into onto my EXS drive, because I'm still a kind of sample maniac. I come from Ackis and MPCs and things like that, and I'm a player as well, so I love to have things underneath my hands on the keys. So I'm a big fan of EXS. So basically, once I've done those files, I'll pull them into EXS and start doing cuts so that everything's underneath my fingers, and that's kind of my artistic palette for the remix. I'll kind of show you where I ended up with some of my EXS instruments. Just look at the lead, for example, try and find it.
Maybe I'm foolish, maybe I'm blind.
So I will have used an EXS instrument here, and then done chops basically, created loads of zones, very Ackei style.
Maybe I'm fool.
And the way I do it is I reference them all to the same file. So I'll have one sample file here, which is the whole vocal, which has been stretched already, down to 65 probably.
Maybe I'm foolish.
And basically all of the cuts occur referencing the same file. So basically I will make a cut and then I'll copy the key group, go on to the next one and move this kind of start point here so that they appear under different keys. And this is the result of that. So this will be the lead vocal.
Maybe I'm foolish, maybe I'm blind.
So I've done cuts on things that I think might be interesting as well.
I can see through this, see what's behind. Got no way to prove somebody I'm you after don't play. Take a bit what you see or just see feeling.
So I've done a lot of cuts there. So that will be one of my programs that I'll have done. I do this all before I actually start doing anything. So I've got a palette there, and it's kind of exciting to start to make the remix basically, because everything's there and it's exciting, and you don't have to sort of mess around doing technical stuff once you get into the flow. And then I've done a bits, I just call it a bits program, which will be all the other bits from the multi-track that's already stretched. I'll just pull bits out and have them on the keys so that I can fling them in. So there's a nice choir here. And some O's, you can see the file names here, so I've actually used a few different files here. Some strings, synthy strings, synth bass, some like picked electric guitar, that's cool. And I ended up using these, so a very sort of compressed sounding piano. Yeah, and these kind of affected human things. So these are all as they were. And then I think this was actually on the multi-track, there was like an octave up. Mixed in very low on the original, I think. But I was like, I have that. So the way I would have started the mix is I always like to try and find a tonal key for where I'm going to work. I kind of forget about the original, I forget what key it's in, I forget about the instrumentation underneath. So what I will have done is it's got the multi-track up and tried to find the tonal center for the remix, and I'll just basically loop a little bit of vocal, jump on the piano and just kind of vibes out some chords and see where I'm kind of going to take it. So we'll have had something rolling on the computer, just a little vocal thing.
Maybe I'm
I'll have just jumped on the piano and just kind of worked out where I am.
Maybe I'm blind.
So we kind of got,
Thinking I can see through.
so we're like in B,
See what's behind.
B minor or D major.
Maybe I'm foolish.
So it's like F sharps and C sharp.
Maybe I'm blind. Thinking I can see through this.
So I think I started it like,
See what's behind. Maybe I'm foolish. Maybe I'm blind. Thinking I can see through this. See what's behind. Maybe I'm foolish.
that's kind of area. So I think I started,
Maybe I'm blind. Thinking I can see through this. See what's behind. Maybe I'm foolish. Maybe I'm blind. Thinking I can see through this.
so that kind of sounds well. I'll have got into that on the computer. So we'll have taken that piano idea and probably just mapped it onto the screen, and just to kind of get a little groove going. I kind of start off at the beginning and just with loads of different ideas and try different things, and you can kind of see that it's ended up kind of pulling together, and suddenly it comes out at some stage when I'm kind of happy with some of the bits. But I think I've moved one of the original things to the end here, which is just the vocal and then the piano like I was playing over there, but just on a plug.
Maybe I'm foolish. Maybe I'm blind.
These piano things going on.
Thinking I can see through this. See what's behind.
So it's this kind of like B minor-y thing,
Maybe I'm foolish.
and then it went over to something else.
Thinking I can see no profit.
There's lots of bits going on here. So yeah, I think this is how I started. So this is what's at the beginning of my page. I've no idea what this is going to sound like.
I'm only human.
Yeah, so I've
I'm
taken.
only human. I'm only human.
So at the time I was probably thinking, right, I'm going to go in like this. It's going to be all piano-y. Maybe it'd be a breakdown.
I'm only human. I'm only human. I'm only human. I'm only human.
So this is how I will have started it. And then there'll be other bits here. Let's see what this is.
I'm only human.
This is just a pulsing thing. I don't know if I ended up using that.
I'm only human.
Or just using some of the strings here.
I'm only human. I'm only human. I'm only human. I'm only human.
It looks like the drums have started now.
Some people got the real problems. Some people out of love. Some people got the real problems. Some people out of love. Some people got the real problems. Some people out of love. Some people got the real problems. Some people out of love. Some people got
So this is the piano thing I've used, which is literally chopped.
Some people got the real problems. Some people out of love. Some people got the real problems. Some people out of love. Some people got the
And that's ended up being in the mix. I think there's a filter on this.
real problems. Some people out of love. Some people got the real problems. Some people out of love.
Something which I ramped up. And then also there's this vocal here, which is like a double time thing,
Some people got the real problems. Some people out of love. Some people got the real problems.
which is this, another EXS instrument. But I think what's happened here is that I've actually pitched it up on the EXS, and then I pulled it down with a sound shifter. So really it would have been like this. And I've just pulled it down to So I've ended up actually kind of getting a Mickey Mouse thing out of it, even though I didn't do the stretches to start with, by just pitching it up in EXS, so it's double the speed, and then pitching it back down an octave. It sounds pretty ropey, but I kind of like it, so. So this is still all my workings out of everything that I'm doing. This is, you can see it's at the beginning, so that didn't get used. I'm just trying all different things. At the beginning of remixes, I like to just try loads of stuff, have no, like it's got to be this or delete that. I just kind of get loads of stuff going at the beginning and then don't really worry about it. Quite often towards the end, it'll be like, cool, that's good. I'm going to start with that, you know, try things. So this is much more like it actually appeared in the mix. So you can see with the vocal, basically, I've just taken little vocal chops, these. Yeah, so I've just taken those bits and then I've using the piano to kind of fill in the gaps between the vocal chop. So it looks like I've kind of been off on one then. Right, so I'll run to, so this is actually where the mix starts here, bar 1, 2, 1. So I'll just kind of run through what's going on. It's kind of new to me as well because I don't remember doing it that much. Okay, so I've got like a little vocal chop that's filtering up with this 1-knob filter. And you can see that's automated. So that's just coming up. And then I'll just run through the drums quickly here. So I've got kick, which is running off EXS. This is pretty much all EXS. I think there's an analog bass or something, but I haven't used any synths or any piano or anything, so it's kind of fairly in the box. Sometimes I use a lot of things and do a lot of recording, but not in this case. So this is a kick, just one out of EXS, and I think I've just got an EQ on it, taken the very, very bottom off, and that's it. So there's the kick. There's another kick here. All right, there's a little kind of filling kick. Right, just a little kind of quaver thing towards the end. And then there's a 909 hat, it's called here. And that is just pure EXS. That's it, and a shake. Again, just straight from EXS. And then there's a knock. Right, there's a knock there. Same thing, EXS. And a clap. And now I kind of sort of mix as I go along if I'm doing a remix like this. So what I've done, I've basically taken all these drums, and I use this a lot where you create a track stack inside Logic. So create a track stack, and call it DRM here. So everything's routing through to a bus and going to that track stack. And I've got a decapitator on it, looks like. Just solo drums. I love a decapitator. And then I've put a tiny little reverb on. Just very low, that's on the drum bus. So that's really the drums. I think there's an extra hat that comes in here. Let's have a quick look at that. I use alias parts a lot, so I have to find the original of that. It's probably here. Yeah, there's some tiny off hats here going on, which do appear later. Okay, cool. Right, so that's the drums. Take your solo off. So let's see. So this piano chop comes in. I've just chopped it so it comes in gradually. Fully automated yet. Same thing on one knob, just getting automated coming in. Right, so then we go to this first vocal thing. So a couple of swirly things, just off EXS again. Nothing special on those, just I think probably not the bottom of this. Oh no, there's something. Oh yeah, that's very specific, right. Okay, so a couple of little flingy things there. And then we have this filtered piano again. And so this is the vocal, it will be from EXS again. And I've got a big delay on this. Probably on this bus. Yeah, so I've got an echo boy on there. And I believe it's ducked probably by itself. Yeah, bus 3. And it's sending to bus 3. So basically bus 3 is just, when the vocal's there, the echo is less. But that's going to there. And that's basically what's going on there. These cuts are still there. This is coming up. Yeah. I'm only human, that thing. Okay. And this weird fill. This bit. And then we're in. Piano chops, full drums. It's the first time I hear the bass. Just look at the bass quickly. I've actually used the retro synth. Here it is. So it's probably just a preset classic analog bass, yeah. I think it gets automated a bit later on as well. There's some EQ going on. Just rolling the bottom off again. I think it's really important to do that. There's a little bit of extra bass added here. So that's it, we're in. And we're going to go down to a vocal again now. So vocals here. Piano things running all the way through. Another vocal. A reverse. Well, that will be from the EXS instrument. Back on the groove. This little knock snare comes in. There we go. All 24th triplet quantizers on this. And then it's another break. Similar to this one, I'll put it over, same effects. And then we're into the end. There's a bit of automation coming here on the, yeah, on the retro synth. Tainted love kind of drony thing. So going back to the original vocal thing again that we had in the intro, filtering out again with the one knob. So that's pretty much kind of talking you through all the different bits. And then I pretty much mixed this as I've gone along. As I said, the drums will go to a subgroup, a track stack, but other than that, everything else is pretty simple. And I've just got stuff going on the end. There's a volume shape on here. That's quite good for a ducking effect. Zinc showed me this. It gives you a kind of ducking effect without having to sidechain anything, and you can sculpt the contour of the duck as well, which is great. We like sculpting ducks. Yeah, what else is going on that's of interest? Let's have a look. Been through the pianos. What's on here? Trusty 1176. Small reverb. I don't really use this anymore. I seem to be having a month of being into this one, but it is cool, but there's no adjustable resonance or anything. But I did the job. Yeah, so this is the one that's got sound shift on, auto filters, kind of widening it out, some kind of EQ. Yeah, roll off again. I try and roll things off as much as possible. It looks like I've got quite a lot on the end here. This is my mix bus. So, I've got Shadow Hills on here, which I love. 2 compressors in one. There's an optical and a discrete, but that's just getting touched slightly. And then I've got a Manly EQ, just adding some tops by the look of it. And then an L2. I'll just get these up all together so you can see what's going on. And then an L2 at the end.
I'm no prophet or Messiah.
So like 3 dBs of reduction. And then when I'll have sent it off, the pre-master, I'll have taken all of this off. So it would have gone over like this. And I probably realised that I should have run all my mix not as hot and faked it and maybe gone down -14. So the mastering engineer thinks I know what I'm doing and delivered it like this. So, you know, -14 is like 0. So he's got headroom for his lovely analog bits of kit, but in reality, quick look at the mixer page. Pretty simple mix this, which is good. It's nice when things come out simply. See what else we had here. These other bits that might have happened. Chunks. No, that's just been lifted out of the arrangement. So arrangement-wise, you can see I've just kind of run through it really. Drum intro that's kind of club-friendly, into a main vocal bit, into the groove, some verse vocals, into another drop-down. So there's 2 kind of drop-downs, and then we're out to the end with kind of DJ-friendly outro as well. And that is it, I think, pretty much, from my head anyway. Yeah, Rug and Bone remix, Human, my mix. Big up yourself. When I'm looking to do a remix, I consider lots of things really. I guess firstly, I've got to like the song. It's got to have a vibe about it. I've got to think that It's got potential to do well, that it's going to be like cool to be associated with that record. It depends if I've got time. If I'm in the middle of lots of things in the studio here, I might say no if I'm DJing a lot, or I just feel I haven't got the energy to give the remix, I might not do it. So timing. BPM's quite a big one for me as well, because I normally remix things at, around 130ish, so that I can play them in a club. If it's above 130 and I have to slow the vocal down, you kind of lose energy from it. So you can end up sometimes doing a mix that you've kind of removed a bit of the drive from it, and it gets quite hard to inject that again into it. It doesn't really matter about the standing of the artist. I think if it's a killer record and it's going to do really well and it's someone new, then it's something that I'll do. It depends on a lot of things. So with this particular remix, Human, I just like the record basically. I think he's got an amazingly distinctive voice. It's something that it's new. It's not like, he doesn't sound like anyone else. And it's an amazing production. Ben 2-Inch Punch did it, and I've kind of worked with him a bit recently, so I kind of knew about the record. And it's just got a vibe about it that I just thought, yeah, I want to remix it. If I accept, the job, the task in hand, then I'll have kind of tried to think in my head, am I going to have fun with this? Is it going to be something that I can do? You can never really tell. I mean, I have taken on remixes before that I've just hit a brick wall with and thought, why did I take this on? Because the parts are rubbish. And also, making studio stuff, sometimes the magic happens, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes you have to kind of squeeze it out, sometimes it just flows. I might have an idea in my head this is going to be more of a bassy banger, or this has got an amazing vocal with a really nice song, so I'm going to do a kind of roadsy full vocal. So I might kind of go through those things before I kind of accept the mix or get stuck in. I think doing remixes has always been something I've liked, because it's a set piece, confined in a way. I get, some materials and I have to make something with those materials. So it's completely different to writing original music for me. It normally involves other people. It normally goes on over a longer period of time. Obviously there's a song involved, if there's a singer and kind of lyrics. So it's a different world for me. Advice for people kind of just getting into remixing, I'd say give up. Just follow your nose really. Don't try and think, oh, I've heard this big record on Beatport, so I'm going to try and do something like that, because it never will sound as good. You need to kind of try and find your own slant on things, and keep trying stuff, and then it'll become apparent soon that one bit's got some magic in it, and then you can build on that. And just try and do something individual and unique to you, and something which connects with you as a musician, not kind of what you think that you should be doing.
Oh, Matt, you smashed that.
Fucking smashed it.